Monday morning. So we're a day earlier than usual. It's like you always work with who you've got. And hey, this is what works for today, for this week. And it's important too, because my guest has some important stuff going on, and some of it is actually later this week. So I want to make sure that we get that information out there. But as we start, I want to go through, the usual stuff, beginning with check in with those around you. Because so many of us, we know people who have gone through things, whether it's medical, whether it's family, whether it's work, whether anything, things that people are going through, difficulties. And so often it's like we know when they're going through it and we're there when it happens. And then the smiles are showing up and it looks like they're doing okay, and we kind of tend to let it go. So let's not let it go. This is not the time for the song. Sorry, CJ. When we know somebody's gone through something of difficulty, even if it looks like they're doing fine, even if it was a year ago, especially with medical, check in on them, see how they're doing, and be open and be honest with them. When you ask, how are you doing? Make sure you get them to tell you how they're doing. And oftentimes that means do not accept a fine, because that's just such a catchphrase of, oh, I'm doing fine, no problem. And that doesn't really mean anything. So check in on those around you, make sure they're doing okay. And when I talk about my sponsors, I want to start with my dear, dear sister, Dr. Constance Leland. I absolutely love my sister, my bestie, business partner, Level Up Academy. I mean, here is someone who, she not only talks about the importance of leveling up others around her, she is the one that is in your corner when you are ready to level up, when you are ready to do something with education, because she is an educator. You are something with your business is ready to go out into the world, to be, you want to promote a product, you want to promote your business, you want to promote something, and you need somebody to give you a press release, you need somebody to help you get into media. That's where my dear sister fits as well. You're looking for a podcast, you're looking for TV, radio, all of these social media aspects. Again, this is the place to go. Touch base with my dear sis. She has her own press releases. She can do press releases and look at all those different industries that she can get you into. So check her out, touch base with her, and see if that fit is ready. If you're ready, if you're not ready, if you think you're ready, but you're really quite, and you have a conversation with her and she says you're not quite ready, she can help you to identify what you need to do to be ready and get you on those platforms to do the best. And if you happen to be in Antarctica, please contact my sis and start watching her podcasts, get her podcasts, her TV show, because she's all around the globe. She's looking for that penguin in Antarctica to boost her for 7 continents. Then we have the Hounds of Business. Collaboration over competition. Think about it. When you collaborate with somebody, even if you think they're doing the same thing as you are, you collaborate instead of compete. It's a win-win for both of you, because you are boosting each other. You're working together. You're lowering some of that anxiety that comes when you're competing all the time. That's what the Hounds of Business does. Its focus, and the Hounds, the leader of the pack, Mike Ashebrainer, the focus is on to collaborate, to work together. So when you get into the Hounds of Business, you'll see so many different people. It's your opportunity to go in, meet others, and find ways to collaborate with each other. I've seen some amazing collaborations within the Hounds of Business. And some of these people, you might say, but they should be competing. No, this is the beauty of the pack. Collaborate. This is not a place to compete. This is not a place to build up the anxiety. This is a place to work together and lift everybody up, as CJ would do, level up. And speaking of my dear sis, and this book came out in December. This was our 4th anthology last year. This was the 4th #1 international best-selling anthology that we did last year, because we love doing anthologies and working with authors and helping to lift their stories, lift their business. And right there in the middle is my dear guest. I mean, there's her beautiful face right next to Mike Ashbrainer. And this is that opportunity to get your story out there. When we are doing our anthologies, we work so hard to help you write better, to do your best. And with this anthology, the other thing is we always give back. So our 4 anthologies last year, the first one was Beyond Boundaries, Thriving in Life's Gray Zone. And that one, it turned into Trees in Madagascar. That was our giving back to the community. Then the second one, Moving Beyond Boxes, The Journey to Self-Discovery. That one ended up planting trees in Honduras. The third one, Rebel with a Cause. And I'm not going to go into the story on this one, but that one ended up going to mental health. That was the focus. All I'll say is one of our authors, she was so excited to get started with us, and then we lost her before it started. And so the book is dedicated to her, and she's the one that we, because of her, we chose mental health. And then Against the Grain, Finding Belonging in a World of Resistance. This one is, whatever proceeds we get is to support Confronting Domestic Violence. So it ties right into today. But I wanted to throw out here too, we are now getting started on the Chronicles of Scattered Pages, Stories from Everywhere. This one will come out next month. And CJ still has it open for academicians. Oh, I love that word. If you have a master's, if you have a Doctor of Business Administration or a PhD in any discipline, you can join us in this anthology. It's a research. There's a researcher summit. So you're going to do up to 3,000 words, a paper, an academic paper that will be part of a book published in May. The summit that includes your research that you get to present it will be in April, but now's the time to join. So again, scan it. If you've got a master's degree, a DBA, or a PhD, then scan it, check it out, touch base with my dear sister, and we'll see where everything is going. And now I'm going to bring up my guests. It's so great to see you. And it's so great to see Lisa here. So just for those who don't know Lisa, if you got questions on menopause, she is the one to go to. And for guys, you get andropause. You got questions? She's the one to go to. I love it. But I'm so glad to have you here because you were in the last anthology and we get to support you with this anthology. And I mean, between CJ and I, we got so many connections with you. And then, of course, you're in the same area as dear CJ. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. What an honor and such a pleasure. And I just want to piggyback on so many things you said as a recipient of all of the things that we have done together, all of the different groups that we are a part of together, the book that we're in together. I mean, like you said, we're definitely embedded. And it has just been such a journey of support, a journey of encouragement, definitely living up to the definition of leveling up for sure. And oh my gosh, what a beautiful surprise and such a generous offering to, put the proceeds from this book to the nonprofit and our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence, which is helping real-time victims with real-time resources and offering relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. That's our program. So what you guys have been doing in supporting us and being a part of us. I mean, CJ is a board member also. I mean, I keep getting deeper and deeper into how we are all connected here. And it has been such a wonderful journey. And anybody listening, jump on the bandwagon, like seriously, because it is such an outreach that I didn't even know could exist. You dream of things like that, of, an outreach being so big and so wide. And now this is a reality. My dream is a reality. So I just want to say thank you so much for welcoming me with open arms, embracing, all of the tidbits and quirkiness that comes with it, and just the ongoing support that you guys offer. It is so incredible. It feels like family, even if it's, a great family, a dysfunctional family, it doesn't matter. Family's family.
Exactly. And it's been great getting to know you. And I mean, you have your own story going into all of this. So I'm going to give you time to talk about whatever you are comfortable talking about for your own story that led up to this becoming a reality.
Yes. Okay. Well, I am a survivor of a double attempted homicide. I was 8 months pregnant and over 1,000 miles away from home when I was attacked. I also had an 8-year-old daughter asleep at the time, which the, grappling actually woke her up. And I'll be a little graphic if that's okay. So
PG.
I was, yeah, PG? Okay. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I had just landed at our new place. My partner was there before me. It was work related, and so at 7 months pregnant was when I arrived. But at 8 months pregnant was when my personal belongings arrived because they were delivered by a truck. And while I was unpacking and settling in, almost nesting at that point at 8 months pregnant, I had discovered the belongings of another person, another woman. And I was so taken aback. I had just left my family, my friends, my job, my school, everything. And I was in disbelief. So it took me the entire day to just kind of calm down and try to, control the scurrying thoughts in my brain. And I decided to wait until dinner was over and homework was done and, daughter was tucked into bed before I approached. Now, we can say approach or confront. To me, it is very similar. It's how you go about it. You can respectfully confront someone. And, I believe that is what I did because I just said, hey, while I was putting my belongings away, I came across items of another woman and I would like to know who do these belong to and where did they come from? I didn't remember any conversations about sisters, aunts, cousins, friends over at the house. So I was curious. I was immediately met and accused of going through their belongings. So when I attempted to repeat myself, I was already on the ground. We were sitting on the couch, so I was already on the ground. It was very easy to get me there. He was sitting, straddling my pregnant stomach while having his left hand pinning me down on the floor around my neck, and his right hand closed fist just punching me over and over to the head. And when I heard my daughter's voice from upstairs, and it was a voice I'd never heard, it was a tone I never heard in her voice before. It was this scared little girl, Mom, Mom. And it was like the loudest ringing in my brain that I can remember to this day. And I just said, that's my daughter. And my feet just like slammed flat foot on the floor, which allowed me to use my neck as a kickstand to thrust my hips to the ceiling and have him roll off of me, which was very effective. It was like the adrenaline of She-Hulk running through my veins. Okay. I
Yeah.
popped up. Yeah. I popped up in like a second. I have no idea how this happened. And I just ran around the couch and I grabbed my baby's hand as she was taking that last step off the bottom stair. And we ran outside just like that, barefoot in pajamas with nothing in our hands except for each other. And so it was, I don't know, about 11 o'clock at night. I saw a light on at a neighbor's house and I just knocked on the door and pleaded to use their phone to call the police. And that was the most earth-shattering, devastating moment in my life, because here I was thousands of miles away from home, family, friends, anybody and everything that I knew. And I had no resources, nowhere to go, no one to call, and I had no idea what the laws were in that particular state. So, where I'm from, you're out in a couple hours, a little slap on the hands. But thankfully, I was in a state where there is a higher zero tolerance type of level. And they were, when they were taken away, they stayed in custody until the court date. And I didn't get any sleep. I was, scared out of my mind. I was, looking up so many things and trying to understand what, is available to me. I mean, literally, I had the door barricaded with the couch. I had an escape plan with my 8-year-old. Jump out of this window, jump onto here, jump this, do that, go here. It was crazy when I look back and think about it. And so I'm just going to fast forward because that's a very long journey of what I had to go through in order to, overcome. And there really is no such thing as overcoming a situation like that. It's more so understanding how to navigate through all of those doubts that cloud your mind and these blankets of insecurities that, really mess with your understanding, your definition, your outlook of life and who you are and how to navigate in these uncharted waters. So, coping skills is extremely important. And, I just want to share post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth is a real thing. Many of us are familiar with PTSD. PTG is real. It's where we, become resilient and we take our devastating moments and we allow them to help us become wiser, smarter, stronger to, be able to mitigate and prevent that from happening again. It's not necessarily always the case, especially under the umbrella of domestic violence, because it comes in so many forms, but it really is about our way of leveling up our coping and our ability to navigate. So I'll fast forward. My kids are safe, both of them, by the way. So about 20 years after that incident, I was in a life-threatening car accident. I only had a 1% chance of surviving, and I had no idea what my purpose was for being spared. So I petitioned every single day my creator, why did you decide to save me? Why did you decide to spare my life? I had a 1% chance of surviving twice within that same car accident. So it took a while for that message to be delivered. And I will, proudly say that it was in the ICU that Confronting Domestic Violence was born. I got the message that I am supposed to share my story and allow people to really hear what happened, but see the light on the other side, who I am today because of that, how I was able to take that moment and now turn it into something of kindness to the community, to, so many people going through it, because it's crazy that domestic violence is still such a social stigma that we are ashamed or embarrassed to talk about. Yet 1 out of 3 women, 1 out of 4 men are exposed or have experienced a form of it, and with those statistics, 1 out of 15 children are exposed to it, and 90% of those are eyewitnesses to it. So I'm really looking at growing our mission. And that's where I was saying in the beginning, providing real-time resources for real-time victims. And that's one part of it. And the reason why that is so near and dear to my heart and important is because who is looking for resources to help themselves in a domestic violence situation if you're not in it? You're not looking for it until you need it. And once you need it, like I said before, your mind is so clouded, your emotions are so torn to pieces, you don't even know where to go. I probably dialed over 800 1-800 numbers or other phone calls before I got to somebody that actually was able to help me. So I'm looking at filling those gaps. I want to give you the resources you need real time to avoid months, weeks, years before you find the help that you need. And then, of course, like I was saying before, the other part of our program is that relocation, right? So the only caveat to that part of the program is that you need to be a parent. You need to be a parent with children in order to, qualify for that resource. And that's because, again, children, right? They need a safe space to feel that they are safe. I mean, home is supposed to be your safe haven, not your battlefield. And without children feeling safe at home, the inability to learn at school, to be able to be on the growth pattern or growth chart that other, kids their age are on, it prevents that from happening when children are not feeling safe at home, when they're at school checked out because they're thinking about what's going on at home and they're not familiar. They don't have the capacity to like really sort through those feelings. So that's taking away from their education. That's taking away from their emotional, knowledge and intelligence and growth. I mean, gosh, the list goes on. I feel like I'm talking too much. Ask me more questions.
No, I mean, the list goes on because it has to go on. There's so much to this, and you're right. Once you're in the middle of it, or even when you're getting into something, it's the starting point, the anxiety, the fears, the nerves. It can become very difficult to figure out where to go, especially if you've got nobody else to support you on it. So how do you find this stuff?
Well, right. You can contact confrontingdomesticviolence.org because I can definitely help you find these things. I literally was standing in line at every building possible, making all of these calls. I was in line for food stamps. I was in line for financial assistance. I was in line for shelters. I was in line for, just food if I wasn't able and I was not able to get the food stamps right away. I mean, everything is like a process, fill out this application. Let's see where you fall on the list. Okay, we'll contact you when we get to you. And, when you are a real-time victim, the moment that your one circumstance is fulfilled, well, now there's another need. Okay, as your circumstances change, so do your needs. So, while and this is a true story, I'm telling you this, I cannot make this up. When I was granted the assistance for food, I literally went on the shopping spree because the cabinets were empty. And I probably cooked 14 meals, put them in the freezer, and was ready to go because I had to prepare for giving birth. I'm by myself, right? I can't send my 8-year-old daughter to the store and make food for us. So I literally spent probably the whole weekend preparing, cooking, doing all of these things. On a Friday, that following Friday, the electricity went out. My lights were out. I was panicking. I had no idea what to do. Everything all the food that I just got is going to go down, is going to be wasted. There's no money to replace it. I mean, it was literally a nightmare. And then on a Friday, good luck getting it turned back on Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So I did stay in touch with that one neighbor that helped us and allowed us to use the phone. And I just pleaded, like, I am so sorry to ask for more. Do you have a cooler? Do you have ice? Do you have space in your fridge, your freezer? Like it's really, truly a life and death mindset when you're in that level, on that level of survival. It's not just about you, it's about your kids. And I didn't even know if I was going to be able to take care of this baby that was on the way. You know, it, again, it's very, when you are in that devastation moment, your whole world is rocked upside down and it feels like everything you've known is just gone and out of the window. You're scurrying to find help and you don't know where to begin. So I've gone through mass amounts of training. I have been boots on the ground myself for the last 20 years. I'm involved in every program that there is available that I'm aware of. I mean, I have really truly navigated through so many different resources that I know what to ask. I know how to ask. I know how to speak, how to get what I need in order to provide the help that our mission offers. So when you go to the website, confrontingdomesticviolence.org, and you go to that resource page, on the far right column, it's a search field. And in that search field, you put a zip code, you put a city, you put a county. And when that populates, there's a long list of organizations that support domestic violence, and they will be right there in front of you. It's almost like the yellow pages or the white pages. It's a full-on directory of organizations that support and have the similar mission to provide services to, the domestic violence community. And they're right there. I wish that was something that was available back in my day, but I'm so happy that it's here now and that I'm available to talk on it, point people that direction, and, be able to provide different help at different stages for different circumstances.
Well, and that's it too, because there's going to be a lot of different stages on this.
That's right.
From going into it and having the confusion to being in it and probably totally confused to, okay, you're getting out of it, but still that doesn't mean, it's like I say at the beginning, it doesn't mean that just because you can start putting a smile on your face that you're actually doing okay.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so moving out, like physically moving out or physically moving on, is one thing. Mentally and emotionally moving on is something totally different, because it's almost like you lose your own identity. You have no idea who you are or why that happened or how you could have prevented it or what you did to contribute to it. There's so many. That's why I was saying blanket of insecurities, right? It is literally a blanket covering your entire body of insecurities, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. I mean, you name it, I can keep going on and on and on. And so it is really important, back to that mindset, and you're leveling up on your coping and being able to intercept that inner critic. And I have so many like cliches or, terms that I use, like, you can move a million times, but you live in your head. So if the clutter in your head is not, tidied up, where are you going? Okay. There's just so much to be shared as it relates to being able to get yourself into a space where you're feeling confident again. And I really like to use the term of, it's okay. And when you're in that space of knowing, who you're not, and it's okay being in that space of knowing or not knowing who you are. I'm saying this wrong. I apologize. When you're confused and you don't know who you are, it's okay, because that's a part of the devastation. But while you're in that space of not knowing who you are, you damn sure know who you're not. And as soon as you are able to recognize and remember who you are not, that's where you start building your boundaries. And as you evolve, your boundaries evolve with you. As you start getting that strength back and that confidence back and that clarity back, and you are just on your mission of, providing and protecting and healing, those boundaries are growing with you. And I believe in mirror work. You get in front of that mirror and you talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend, a person that you love the most, your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, I don't care who it is, whoever you would defend to your last breath, however you would talk to them, get yourself in front of that mirror and talk to yourself the same way. I had to do that, and I had no idea that mirror neurons were a real thing. I had no idea who Lois Hayes was back then. I recently learned about her maybe 5 years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was like instinctive to me. How did that happen? It was just, something that I love sharing because it's real. And now there's like scientific data to back it up.
Well, I love it too, because I've done it myself, where you get in the mirror and something's going on in life, and it really is that, okay, you know what's going on, and you start talking to you're basically talking to yourself. Like in my case, I think of it a little bit different than that. It's like I'm trying to talk to myself in the way that my bestie might talk to me, so that it's, to me, that's a double whammy, because then I'm channeling that positive energy and thought process through my thoughts to myself. And at the same time, it's coming, if I can do it that way, then it's coming from somebody that I trust. And that means the words will have a bigger impact for me than just saying the right things to myself.
That's right. And that's absolutely right. And you touched on something earlier. It was more so under the umbrella of medical, where, checking in with people, that you care about and that you love, and just ask how they are. I would say across the board, right? Check in with people and ask how they are, because when they use the word fine, FINE, to me, that's now an acronym. That means feelings inside, not expressed. Okay.
I like that.
So when they're saying fine, 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 I'm fine, kind of brushing you off, feelings inside, not expressed. And it is really important that you on both sides, that you're a safe person, you care enough that you're reaching out and asking, and you're providing that safe space for the person to actually like share their true, authentic feelings, and then on the other side, that person really needs to release them. It's very important, because if it just lives inside and stews inside, it can bubble up and overflow into something that it is not, that you are not, and harm and hurt other people that love you around you. So it's really important to be able to navigate that as well. And back to the anthology book, Against the Grain, I mean, wow, every chapter in there from every person really hits home on that, and it is just an honor to be a co-author in that book with you guys. And reading other people's chapters and really understanding their journeys, what I'm talking about here is like all in a book. Post-traumatic growth and on the journey to overcome, it's like amazing. And through the Hounds of Business, I don't want to forget to mention Hounds of Business and Mike. I mean, I met you guys through him. This is such, going back to that outreach of support. Now there are things online, there are groups, there are people, there are places that really do care, that really do have these safe spaces to meet and talk to people with kind hearts. It's really hard to find, I'm not going to lie. But today, with those things at our fingertips, where 20 years ago that was not a thing, there was no such thing, but today there is, and resources are there, people are there, and so many of us have, again, either had experience or exposure, and we find ways to help each other and guide each other, and at least send them to where we know resources do reside. And I just cannot feel more empowered than that. And I want everybody to feel that.
Well, and you do a whole lot more than just the domestic violence as well, because you've got an event that's coming up this week.
Oh, yes, I do. And February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. February is a huge ordeal for me under that umbrella for the teen dating, because as teenagers, some teenagers, they don't want to talk to their parents. Some teenagers are embarrassed to talk to anybody. Some teenagers feel like they know it all and they're going to do what they want to do. And with all of those things being said, hormones, all over the place, and no capacity to understand how to control that, if there's even a way to control hormones, and the confusion that lies between that, when your emotions and your mental state are going back and forth with each other. Where do teenagers get the information or the awareness or the education or the resources to really be able to identify, are they in an abusive relationship? How are they dealing with their, and I'm saying relationship, friendship, partnership, kinship, any kind of ship that you're having, understanding what unhealthy and healthy relationships are. I mean, that's what this event is all about on Thursday. Okay, we are really going to go deep into technology. Actually, CJ is going to be talking about technology and how that impacts teenagers. And we're going to have quite a few different speakers. Again, identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships, identifying patterns and setting confident boundaries, where to get help, how to get help, offering help, understanding where to send people or loved ones or whomever if they are in immediate danger and need to start planning, that safe exit strategy. I mean, the list goes on and on. When you think about I'm sorry, but when you think about some of these, violent acts that are happening in these high schools, a lot of that has to do with domestic violence. It's somebody's emotional state being overridden by this lack of control and not understanding how to navigate through that violence is what they resort to. Okay. And I mean, this can come from jealousy, insecurity, just even a thought without even a fact of something happening. It's this emotional state of, I don't know what to call it. Just this emotional state of not understanding.
Right.
You're out of control. You're out of control because you don't know how to navigate through that emotional state. And violence is what is what is being resorted to. And with that said, I will incorporate how I am also a consultant for access control, physical security, preventing and mitigating violence before it comes to the doorstep. Spillover, domestic violence spillover is such a tricky yet repetitive underlying issue that is what takes place. And, I am just on this mission. I am on this mission to help prevent. I actually provided a full-on course in the state of California. There's a recent legislative law that passed, SB 553, and it's called a Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. So federal OSHA has a workplace violence policy that needs to be in place. But California is the first state that says you need to have a plan in place. And, I was given the opportunity to provide this, legislative required training to a whole school district. I was so blessed and felt so empowered that they chose me to offer this training. And, ever since then, I have been consistently providing the training to local organizations, not just to get them compliant for, audit readiness and compliant with the state because it's a mandate. Cal OSHA is the one that's enforcing it. So I have a single point of contact with them. I listen and I ask the questions that are required, because not only does the corporation need to be compliant, but the people need to be trained. That's where the awareness and the training comes into play. And what I'm kind of tying the two together because teenagers are going to work these days. 15, 14, you can get a work permit and you're showing up at the job. You are now an employee. 16 and above, you don't need that work permit. And many teenagers look for that, seasonal job, summer job, what may you have it.
Right.
And when are they getting the awareness? When they're in the lunchroom at work to see a plastic poster, in the lunchroom with small print on, like, here's a few numbers to call if you're in a situation. To me, that seems a little unfair. I think that the education, the awareness, and the training should be much sooner than that.
Absolutely on that, because how many people are actually looking at the posters? I know we have posters that are required all over the place, but usually I feel like nobody looks at the poster unless there's already a problem.
Exactly. And it's not like that's a part of orientation. Oh, hey, by the way, if you're experiencing X, Y, and Z and you don't want to come to human resources or your manager, on this poster, you'll find resources for this, that, and the third. That doesn't happen either. You just have to, have a curiosity and walk to it to see what's on there. It's not like you're being told.
Yeah. And the worst time is when it's already happened. So,
Yes. And same thing for colleges, universities. I mean, I have interviewed plenty of students, and they say, when you go to college and you're in this orientation, you're so overwhelmed by being in this huge establishment. It's way bigger than high school. You're getting all this information about, what to do, where to go, who to contact. You have like a stack like this of, stuff. And domestic violence is touched on maybe just, for like a few minutes. But then as they progress, and they only get it that one time during orientation. So if you're living on campus and you're in your dorm and you're dealing with a domestic violence situation, you forget about those resources. You don't remember that from orientation. You're calling your friends. You're calling to see if somebody can just come over and help you or talk to you. You don't even, I'm saying this because I've interviewed plenty of these college students, and they're saying that even numbers for security are not readily available in their dorms. Like, they were suggesting that it should be posted right next to the evacuation posters. Okay, because then it's more in their face and they'll be able to remember it and have, this like muscle memory about it. Also, campus security is not the fastest or the most communicative. So I feel like there's plenty of gaps that need to be filled. But for me and Confronting Domestic Violence and our mission and everybody that, is a part of, confronting domestic violence, it's more about just getting the awareness and the tools and the resources out there so that, lack of knowledge, ignorance, whatever is no longer the reason why somebody is getting hurt to a degree that could have been prevented or mitigated prior to that happening.
right. And I think back, for me, college was, let's just say when I started, it was a while ago. And I don't remember any of that kind of stuff. And then, but you got to remember too, you can talk about it in terms of the dorms, but depending on the college and depending on the student population and where they're at, it can be, especially if it's a city college type situation, like where I was at, a lot of students, they commuted from home, they were basically living with their parents while going to college because it saved money. And it was, so you take the bus to work, to college, or maybe you can drive to college and then drive to work afterwards or something. But that's a whole different type of situation, yet it's still, if there's security issues, like you said, you got to have some way to be able to get a hold of somebody. And if you got stalker issues and all of that, so there's so much to try and make sure the awareness is there. And then when I think about my alma mater right now, the last over the last few years, the whole campus has kind of been in a lockdown still, where only certain doors, certain buildings might be open for people, for non-employees or students to get in to do certain things. But otherwise, I mean, to go to the campus, you couldn't go into some of the buildings to go meet with a teacher without having to get somebody to open the door for you to get into the building to go meet with a teacher.
Right.
And that's, I can see security issues going both ways on that one.
Oh my gosh. I'm so big on access control. So big. I mean, I have a full background, a professional background with physical security and access control. I mean, I start at very high level. The first thing I ask, which definitely makes everybody's eyebrows go up, is who has the hard keys to enter, to bypass every badge or fob? Who has a hard key to just open up the door and come in? Because if you don't know how many hard keys are out there, you're already breaching your access control.
Right.
You know, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. And, something else that, I wanted to share with you too, is that the statistics that come out from, teen dating violence, those statistics are actually gathered from teenagers that are 17, the range of 17 to 20. And that is because when they were going through it as teenager, they really didn't realize that that's what it was. It wasn't until they got a little bit older and started to, get familiar with, unhealthy, healthy, relationship,
Right.
and understanding their own personal definitions of what, abuse is, that they're able to actually recognize it and say, yes, that's what I was going through. So, what I would like to do is take a little bit of time to give some pointers and some things to think about, and I'll start with that technical side of stuff. Well, I'll start with the healthy, unhealthy. Having some definitions for yourself, knowing what your definition of respect is, knowing what your definition of trust is, knowing what your definition of jealousy is. If you can just hone in on those three things: respect, trust, jealousy. What is your personal definition of those three things? And once you're able to really spell that out for yourself, then you ask yourself, are my relationships consisting of these three things? Are my ships, I'm calling them ships because it could be any relationship, okay? Do my relationships, do they live up to my definition of respect? Do they live up to my definition of trust? And is there any jealousy based on my definition of jealousy? Okay. That gives you so much insight. And it's almost like an aha moment, because then you're able to say, okay, maybe that's not healthy. Maybe that's not maybe that's not a ship I want in my life anymore. But it's up to us. Nobody knows you better than you. And no, you cannot control anything in this world except for yourself. So it really is getting to understand you so that you can build those boundaries and identify what is best for you. I was going to talk about the technical side of things, this digital media, this social media, all of these things that teenagers love to be on. And it's almost like our local, restaurants that they're up for a little bit and then they're gone. And then there's another name being plastered on the wall. It's like, these are these apps. It's the same thing as these apps. Okay. And, I really have learned quite a bit under this umbrella with these teenagers, because they also have like their own ebonics, their own coding of things to be said. And give me 1 second. Let me just need to reach this piece of paper that I forgot to put on my desk. So like KPC, the letters KPC. If a teenager is putting that in their text message, that means keep parents clueless. Did you know that?
Never heard of that one.
Oh, this is what I'm talking about. So when you think about that scientific chart, okay, the kids have that. They have their own acronyms to what is being said. One of them is very, very intriguing. CD9. What the heck is CD9? CD9 means parents are watching. What? How would you even know that? Okay. Like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. I can go on and on, but nonetheless, so if parents, if you have access to your teens, anything, phone, iPad, whatever gadget, and these apps, if you're seeing these like code words, that's what it means. They might be in some sort of trouble, and social media presence, communication, privacy, discussions, boundaries, passwords, who are you sharing your location with and why? you
Mhm.
know is your ship making you feel like you're obligated to spend every minute with them and make you feel guilty if you're doing things you enjoy with your other friends or your family? How many times, or who's asking to access your account? Who wants your password? Why? There's so many things that fall under this umbrella for teenagers that again, the awareness, the training, and the thought process is so needed in order for them to understand healthy versus unhealthy. And I would say that manipulation for teenagers based on photos that they send to people is one of the most crucial and critical components to this, I guess, aspect of things. When you're sending photos of yourself inappropriate, or photos that you just don't want anybody else to see, and you're trusting that this photo isn't going to go anywhere else, that can become a tool to manipulate the other person. I'm going to do this with your picture. I'm going to do that. I'm going to show this. I'm going to show that. And then it becomes this fear factor, which provides this control,
Yep.
and this power over the other individual. And they're so embarrassed that they don't know who to tell. They don't want to tell. And, that's where it needs to be cracked. We all make mistakes. We'll send pictures. We'll do stuff. So what? But it's how do we get that help to start navigating through that and mitigating that, so that the other person, that beautiful teenager, doesn't feel like they are owned by some peer.
And CJ talks about that a lot because she knows specific examples that happened
Mm-hmm.
about it in situations and things that have. It's like, here's something. It's not just the kids that need to know what's going on. It's the parents that need to know this is going on too. And to go, the way I see it is the parents need to be able to go into the situation with love, as opposed to, why did you do this? How could you do this? It's like, don't hammer the kid. They're
That's
already
right.
hammering themselves, especially for girls, because the kind of pictures they're being asked, and sometimes it may just be a nude top, but somebody else has found a way to make it feel so wrong that they control that girl now. Whereas if the parents have that love and they can just say, hey, so what? Like you said, you made a mistake. Just drop this person and leave them alone, and they will do what they're going to do, but you are going to live instead of get stuck in a situation that you should never be put in.
Exactly. And sometimes when a bully is confronted, they stop bullying. Okay. So it's like, I just need to put that out there. Confronting does not mean that you're aggressive and you're disrespectful. You cannot conquer what you do not confront. So the approach, do what you need to do to safeguard yourself and let the other person know, I do not fear you. What you're doing is you're threatening me, and I can take this as far as I want to as it relates to reporting it and getting you in the right seat or the wrong seat to end this.
Exactly. And you actually, part of that is something I was just thinking too, to add on. It's the kid does it if instead of cowing to the pressure by the other person to do what they say, if the child really feels like they're safe in that home, that they belong, that they can talk with their parents, then for them to be able to go to the parents and say, this is what happened, this is what they're trying to get me to do, talk to law enforcement, get them involved. The kid may still have to kind of be there, but now they're being taken care of through the steps to catch the person who's trying to do this to them, because it's probably not a single incident. This person's doing it to multiple people. And if this is the first one, well, if it works this time, they will probably keep doing it. So, yeah.
That's right. And I just for awareness, I also want to talk about how, domestic violence is the most dangerous call for police officers to respond to. So just think about that. Here we are talking about trained police officers, and domestic violence calls is the most dangerous call for them to respond to. So, that is their profession, their career. They deal with violence all the time, but DV is the most riskiest. Why? Because of these emotions that I was talking about earlier on.
Right.
And that's why it is so important for, these young people, these beautiful future generations of ours to, talk, let it out, speak to the authorities, speak to any adult that you trust, because most of us have been there or know somebody else who has, and we will find the resources, offer the help, give the guidance, because we are trying to end, prevent, mitigate, and stop this generationally speaking, and every single day. You do not need to go through this by yourself. You do not need to hold it in. There is nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. Speak up. Think about it like this. If you are starving and you keep your mouth closed, how are you going to be fed? You
Right.
won't.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be, again, it's the kids have to feel safe in that family situation to be able to open up. They've got to have somebody that they can open up to and say, I made this mistake. This person's trying to get me to do this. How can we have that person that they can go to and say, this is what's happening?
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, we're getting close to that top of the hour now. So we could keep going, because
I know. We'll just have another one.
Much to talk about here. But I'm going to put this back up. And then if you have any last minute, make sure people know how to get a hold of you, and how to, any last minute nuggets you want to get out there, because we've talked a lot of different topics today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just please, join us here at this event. Like I said, we have multiple speakers, multiple activities, multiple things to provoke thought, well, resources to offer. It's unfortunate that everybody knows somebody, just please coming together to, serve the community and becoming a community of resources is how we're going to make that difference, and just for anybody who needs something right now, this is something that you can put together now and offer right now. Ask whoever it is, if it's yourself or somebody you know, who to contact for support. Safe places to go if needed right away. Steps to take if you feel like your situation is actually dangerous. Okay? So if you feel unsafe, you will go blank. A safe person you can call is blank. If I need help, I can contact blank. Fill in those blanks.
Great advice. So important. And it's been wonderful having you on. And I'm just going to leave this up until we're done so that people get that chance. I loved having you on. I'm so glad you were able to come. And I know this is a Monday instead of a Tuesday, but hey, this is a message that had to be put out there. So we'll get it out
Thank
there.
you.
And then I look forward for everybody who came, who's watched it as team replay. Thank you so much. Please leave comments. Please touch base with Agape. And I will see you all next week. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you.